Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Tanya for Life. We're in chapter 24, and we will just continue from where we left off. So the distinction that the adulterer makes between the prohibition against adultery and that against idolatry is also but a spirit of folly stemming from the klippah. It renders her insensitive to the enormous breach between herself and God, which is created by every sin. If she were aware of this breach, she would certainly overcome desire and refrain from sin. And again, let's just have a little disclaimer. What we're learning here is not chas v'shalom to think, oh, all these bad things, oh, sin, and oh, even this is an extreme situation. It's not something that people usually go through. So no, what it's meant here for us is to learn again to have awareness with what Hashem says is okay, what's not okay. To get the guidance and clarity from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is what we're doing through learning Torah, Tanya. So we have to hear these things, but it's in a way that we can be encouraged, because once we have the awareness, like we said in last class, then we know what to pray about. And with that prayer, with the open door, and the clarity of what we're praying for, to open the door to Hashem to come into this difficulty, then Hashem will come into this difficulty. Because if we don't know what to be aware of when we're struggling, then we're just struggling. And our cries and our pleas can be, general, which is fine. It's beautiful. But as we go deeper and deeper into our self through Torah, then we understand more and more ourselves and what exactly to pray for. And Hashem will be able to come into that as we have our awareness opened. Because again, remember, Hashem's not going to come in to save us if we don't open the door to him. And a big thing about thinking very judgmentally upon ourselves is that we tend to close the door. So we find a key and we find the door and we lock that difficult part of ourselves that we're going through. So whatever difficulties we're facing, we end up closing ourselves up, even to our own awareness, even to ourselves, since, a lot of the time we might think very harshly upon ourselves and expect so much more from ourselves than what we've actually done, thought, said. And then that could cause a whole lot of emotional links, like shame, embarrassment, anger, frustration, guilt, etc., etc. And Miriam talks a lot about releasing the spiritual guilt. So when you understand that Hashem knows and created you human and imperfect, for a purpose, then you actually understand, okay, Hashem's not expecting perfection from me. I'm not meant to be a tzaddik. I'm not even meant to expect of myself the level of Bein-Oni, which is lower than the level of a tzaddik. But a Bein-Oni is someone who doesn't sin in thought, speech, or action. Someone who still has all the urges that we have. Who has the desire come up, who wants to do all these things, but he refuses to allow the Yetzer Hara to take control and think or speak or do something that's contrary to what Hashem tells him to do. And that's a very beautiful high level. But even that, we should know that that's what we're learning in Tanya. We're learning how to be more like that. So it comes without saying that if we're not there yet, then for sure we will be going on dips and slides and falling and failing to us. So we'll be sinning. So this is trying to help bring us the awareness that we need in order to open that door and say, Hashem, I don't want to be in this negative groove anymore, and I don't want to be sinning, but I am human and I need your help. And this is teaching us where we need to open the door. So sometimes it's open the door to understanding sin, because I think a lot of people probably have a lot of negative connotation with it. Sinning is not the end of the world. There is a lot of negative things that come out of it, negative association, of course, because it is something not positive. But we also have to remember, and we have to have the overall branch, like Chassidus teaches us, it's only we only fall, we only sin in order to get to a higher place that we never could have reached before. So a lot of the times, and I want to bring actually a story since we're talking about this, many stories Miriam's references, but one of them is like the story of Yehuda and Tamar. And this story, the overall reason for sharing this is that sometimes we have to understand sin is a part of the world. Like Miriam says, Hashem made us co-creators. So he made the world imperfect for a reason. It's perfect in its imperfection because we as Am Yisrael, we as the people are meant to perfect it. That's how we are doing our mission in this world, that we are meant to be co-creators with Hashem to create a better, a more perfect world, right? Make a dwelling place for Hashem, bring more positivity, get, refine and move away from negativity. And Miriam's shir just now, her Chodesh Elul shir she gave yesterday was beautiful. And one thing that she said that really stuck with me is every time you refrain from doing something, like you refrain from speaking out when your heart is fiery, when you're angry or frustrated or sad and depressed. So refraining from exploding and using your mouth as a weapon. So instead of sharing all of that negativity, you refrain. And what happens is Hashem, it stays in the books up in Shemayim. So Hashem knows, and it's recorded, that that unholy fire, that impure fire, that so-and-so stopped from entering into the world, that's recorded on your behalf. And it's massive. It's like the same, similar to the idea that we learned of keeping the prohibitive commandments, the things that Hashem said don't do, the mitzvah lo taseh. So what's the idea is when we don't do it, it's something, it unleashes something completely in a positive realm, so unlimited, because there was no limit to what you could have not done, to what you could have done, right? Because it was a prohibitive command. It wasn't laid out exactly, that you should do something. And then like when you do a positive command, it brings lots of holy light into the world that cannot be replaced by any other light. So every mitzvah you do is a one-time thing of bringing light into the world. So that this is part of how we correct the world and how we become co-creators. So we have to understand, so too with the world is the same with ourselves, that Hashem also created us imperfect, so that we can go about reaching for a higher self and creating a higher self, refining ourselves. That's the purpose. This is what we're doing, to create a dwelling place for Hashem in this world. Because the more refined we become for the Kedusha, for the holy, the more of a dwelling place we become for Hashem. So instead of allowing that impure fire to come out, we're stopping it from entering the world. And through that refinement, we're actually bringing Hashem into our heart, into our space more and more, and into our relationships. And you can see it, like when the Shekhinah is present in a relationship, whether it's between husband and wife, or child and parent, or boss and whatever it is, whatever situation, relationships, when the Shekhinah is present, then the Shekhinah, you can feel it, because you're holding back whatever negativity you have in your heart. You're not allowing it to come out. So you're refraining, you're doing a very holy deed, and it's unlimited what power it has in the world. And you're actually inviting the holy Shekhinah to come with her pure fire and to consume all the negative impure fire in your heart and in the heart of the other person. So that's something that Miriam teaches in her book, Marriage, Reaching New Heights Through Kindness in Marriage. It's powerful, very powerful teaching. And so again, I want to get back to the original thought of the story. So the reason that I want to bring the story of Yehuda and Tamar is because we have to understand sin has its place in the world. Hashem made us imperfect for a reason. Hashem created sin for a reason. It's only so that we can retrieve holy sparks that wouldn't otherwise be reached because everyone's on such a high level. No, so there has to be some way of coming down from time to time, only to bring it up again, to refine it and to elevate what we can from the lower world. And so sometimes Hashem even takes away our free choice, so to speak, in a situation, like the case is for Yehuda and Tamar. So the story is that Yehuda, who was the Nasi, he was the Gadol Ador, the great sage of the generation, the head of the Beis Din, he was the son of Yaakov, big guy. And from him comes the line of, Mashiach and the Jews today. So from Yehuda, one of our number one sages. So he had a daughter-in-law, and Tamar, and his daughter-in-law had to her husband passed away. So then, according to the law, the next in line brother should marry his widow, right? Which happens. They get married, and then later he dies as well. So then this father, Yehuda, is like uncomfortable. He doesn't really want. He has one one remaining son. That remaining son is a child. And so, okay, fair enough. He's not getting married now, but he kind of doesn't want to even let him get married to her because he doesn't want to lose another son. Maybe it's something to do with her, maybe not, whatever it is. It's a bit uncomfortable. There's a chain. So then she says, okay, so she waits, and then the boy becomes of age, and she comes to, it's obvious now that they're for whatever reason that she's not going to be marrying him, like they're not going to arrange it. So somehow through Ruach HaKodesh or whatever it was, she understands, and she had a sense, she knew that she was meant to marry into this line of the family of Yehuda. So she dresses herself up as a harlot, which in those days was just someone who was completely covered and like sitting outside a tent or something like that. I don't know. But so that's what she does. And she does it specifically in front of where she knows her father-in-law would be walking. And her father-in-law comes around, and this is the greatest sage of the whole generation. And something overcame him. There was a big, strong wave of desire and lust that he couldn't run from. And it was like it was beyond rationality, it was beyond anything. And based on that, he took this girl, and he went into the tent, and she said, look, I need to take, as payment. You don't have to do anything now, but just as payment for now, like I'll take security, like your stuff and your coat or whatever it was. I forgot exactly, but she asked for some things, and he gave it to her. He said, okay. And then they had their night, and then that was it. And he time passed, whatever months, 8 months or whatever, a long time passed. And then the whole town sees that this woman, who is a widow, so she doesn't have a husband currently, she's pregnant, obviously so she must have done a sin. And so they take her to the Beis Din, to the court, and the Jewish court, and Yehuda, who is the head of the Beis Din, is there ready to, meter out the judgment. This was his dead son's wife, who was obviously unfaithful. So without like saying anything, she takes the stuff, she shows him the stuff and the me'il, the coat or whatever it was. She shows him the two things that he gave her, and without saying a thing, all these accusations are coming at her, and she doesn't say a thing. She just shows these things in humility, reserved, and he understands. And now it's his decision, it's his choice to take a responsibility and accountability as the head of the whole forget the congregation, the whole of Am Yisrael at this time, or he could pretend that nothing happened, save face, and he's very a high figure. What would yeah, so instead, no, he understands, he takes responsibility publicly, and he says, this is my child. And then that's what happened. So from that line, from the child between Yehuda and Tamar, and they probably got married. I actually don't remember the rest of the story, but they probably got married from there, and it was understandable. But yeah, it's a power of taking accountability and responsibility, understanding that we're not meant to be perfect. Nobody is meant to be perfect. And there was I was at the Neshei Chabad convention this the past few days, and there was a beautiful story along the same lines. A Rebbitzin was saying she was really overwhelmed with a lot of just so much going on emotionally, like all these things going on. So she comes to shul and she's trying her hardest to stay without crumbling, without crying. When what happens, she ends up she's like obviously distressed. One of her close friends comes out to her and says, "Robinson, how are you? What's happened? You okay?" And she says, "Yeah, it's just, no, my children, this, that, this, that, this." And she starts sharing her distress, and her friend tells her something so she says, "Excuse me, pick yourself up. What are you doing? Why are you allowing this to happen? How are you supposed to help other people to have emunah and bitachon if you don't have it yourself? Pick yourself up." And it was so crazy. Like she said, "Oh my goodness." In her heart, she was saying, "Okay, this is not somebody that I can share with again." So already amazing, Baruch Hashem, that's a boundary. Because what her friend did was she was already on the ground. And as she was on the ground, this woman came and stomped on her. And for me, that's so powerful because the Rebbitzin said, don't be that person. When someone's low, don't be that person to step on them. Just because I am a Rebbitzin, just because you're someone in authority, just because you're Yehuda, the head of the whole congregation, forget the congregation, the head of the whole Am Yisrael at the time, the leader of the Beis Din, the highest figure of authority. So what? We are human. Hashem made us imperfect. Hashem made us not to be perfect. Hashem made us with the intention that we go through a lot of, uh, uh, pain and difficulty in order to refine ourselves. This is this world. No one has perfection. No one can expect perfection of themselves. Even the greatest tzaddik, even a tzaddik at times, he was for sure a tzaddik, Yehuda. So at times, a tzaddik, for whatever reason, Hashem causes things to happen that become overwhelming and you have no control over. So how much more so with us as, who are not even on the level of a Beinoni, let alone not the tzaddik, but even on the level of a Beinoni. So how much more so that Hashem from time to time needs for our growing to go through those difficulties. And it's okay to go through those difficulties, but we have to take responsibility. And that's where the Torah comes in. Take responsibility, understand what's happening, learn through it. Something that you're struggling with, learn Torah about it. Get to reveal Torah that really resonates with you about this thing. And then it opens up your seeing, your vision, spiritual vision, and it will give you more clarity. So clarity on what you did wrong, right? Which needs fixing, how to fix it, and spiritually, and how to do tshuva, like not to do it again. But it comes from the understanding that you learn about what sort of things it does, what negative associations happen from here, what positive associations happen, in fixing it and whatever it is. So you gain this deeper insights, and your spiritual eye can, your koach, your faculty of sight, which only the physical sight is only a small bit of what sight that Hashem gave us, right? Hashem gave us the soul, which has a vision. And because the body Hashem created, fashioned, is exactly made like a glove to fit and to allow the souls to express itself in all its faculties into the world. So it's our physical eyes can only see physical realm, right? But we have really the true sight that we have is from our soul, which is spiritual. So we can see You know, the power of clarity can come when we fix our way of seeing by getting rid of all the guilt, getting rid of perfection, the goal of perfectionism. No. Even the greatest of people will fall sometimes because Hashem says so. It's all because Hashem says so, and it's all for refining ourselves and making the world a better place, right? For a dwelling place for Hashem. So we have to know that. Knowing that, I think is really helpful. So this is what we're going into, learning about sin, learning about really, horrible and strong words. So this is how we're going into the learning of the Torah. So remember, we're learning about it to open the door so we can pray to Hashem to help us with it, okay? If we didn't learn about it, we wouldn't be able to open the door. We would have no awareness. We would be numb to it, okay? And then Hashem wouldn't be able to help us because he gives us free choice, and he allows himself to take a step back for us to be a co-creator with him, okay? But if we ask for help, he will always help. Yet the spirit of folly envelops the divine soul only up to, but not including, its faculty of chachma, which, as explained in chapter 18, represents the power of faith in God. This faith is unaffected by the spirit of folly because of the divine light, which is clothed in the faculty of chachma, as explained above. Therefore, when confronted with a matter that directly bears on her faith in God, such as idolatry, where the spirit of folly is powerless, she would willingly sacrifice her life. But when faced with the temptation for adultery, where the spirit of folly can and does conceal her faith in God and her hidden love for him, she succumbs. As stated, the subjective distinction between the two stems from foolishness and insensitivity. And remember, insensitivity is what we were talking about. We become insensitive when we're not bringing over, when we're not learning Torah and getting a higher awareness of ourselves and situations, and we're not opening the door to Hashem in prayer, right? So it's very easy to be insensitive in our day-to-day life. And this insensitivity is part of why we will succumb to sin. In truth, however, even he who commits a minor sin transgresses the divine will, and he is completely sundered from Hashem's unity and oneness. Even more than the Sitra Achra and Klippa, which are called strange gods and idolatry. Since Klippa does not violate God's will, whereas a person does, and more than all things of this world that are derived from them, namely the unclean cattle, beasts, and birds, and the vermin and reptiles, which all receive their life force from the three completely unclean klippot. The person who transgresses even a minor sin, then, is worse and lower than the klippot and all that derives from them. So we know that there's a lot of creation that's created through the realm of these klippot, these unclean klippot. And for a Jew, that's why we can't eat from them. I mean, that's part of, because when you're eating unclean, cattle, unclean, not in the physical sense, in the spiritual sense, it's the source of where it's made. So cattle, animals, birds, vermin, reptiles, all these things are made from the unclean klippot. And so Kashrus, Hashem says, you Jews, you're not to eat from the unclean klippot. You are not to eat from something that was sourced in klippot. The same is with magic and healing from a place of tuma, because there is a lot of power in black magic. There's a lot of power in so-called healing through a way that's not a Torah way. Why? Because it's from it exists. It's from the klippot. It's unclean, and so you take upon yourself a lot of tuma, a lot of impurity. And it's the same thing that Hashem said. When we entered Eretz Yisrael, Hashem, in this parsha, Hashem was saying that you have to get rid of all of this tuma, all of this idol worship, all of this you know, talking to the dead, all of this, these things which are, you know, black magic, these things which are sourced in Tumah. So actually, Torah doesn't say that magic doesn't exist. Torah doesn't say that these things don't exist. Torah says these things exist, stay away from it because it's not from a pure source. So it doesn't go with your way, with the way of your soul. No, it's taking from the unclean source, from the klippah. Okay, it's not from kedusha, and so it's covered and it's limited and it's not going to get you 100% anyway. And so it's very important to be careful with where we turn, because unfortunately things are so easy to like information is so easy to come across today. You know, unfortunately I saw a Jewish person was has this website where she was saying that she's a priestess of the goddess Iris, chas v'chalila. And so what I'm trying to say is today it's so easy to come across things that are sourced in Tuma, things that are sourced in Klippah. So B'ezras Hashem, may we be saved from it. May we have Yeshuas, and may you know, everyone be saved from the clutches of Klippah and Tuma, because I know we're all just trying to work towards a better self and a better life, and doing Hashem's will ultimately is what we all desire. So may it be clearer and clearer for all of us to get there, and for those who are trapped, that Hashem should help them also to come back. So very, very powerful. It's very crazy that it's in today's parsha as well. So the person who transgresses even a minor sin is worse than the lower than the klippot that derives from them. And I think we're going to go into it more, because remember, the klippot is the source of something, and we are higher than that. We are not sourced in the klippah. Actually, the garments of our animal soul are sourced in the klippah, and that's why it can become very coarse. That's why we can have such tendencies, such urges for, you know, unrefined things, lower things, rather than kedusha. But we can actually shed those garments and don holy ones. We can actually refine it more and more. And this is what we're learning. So as our sages have said, when a man sins, he is told, the gnat preceded you. The simple meaning of this statement is, you have no cause for pride. Even the lowly gnat was created before you. But the deeper spiritual meaning is that the gnat takes precedence over the sinner in rank, as the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain. And first I'll explain this, that according to the days of creation, Hashem created all animals and creatures before he created man. Hashem created man on the last creation. Man was like officially the last of creation. And the gnat preceded. So when a person gets haughty, it's good to remind yourself that you know, you are not the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't matter what you're doing, thinking, saying, how amazing you are. No, you are not the first in creation. And even the lowliest, you know, ant, let's say, the ant or the insect or the dragonfly was created before you were created. So humble yourself. You have no place to speak in a arrogant way. But then the Alter Rebbe actually gives us a deeper insight into this verse from the Sanhedrin. So the Chassidus behind it says, Alter Rebbe, this means that even the gnat, which as the Talmud states, consumes food, but does not excrete, indicating a klippah, which is the highest of selfishness. It does not give anything of itself, which is the very lowest form of klippah, and is far removed from holiness, which characteristically gives of itself even to those far from it. For holiness implies humility, which leads to kindness and to benevolence, while klippah represents egocentricity and selfishness. Now, even the very lowest klippah, symbolized by the gnat, takes precedence over the sinner in the order of descent of the divine life force from the divine will. This means that Klippa, symbolized by the gnat, derives its life force from a higher level of godliness than that from which the sinner is sustained. Wow. So again, like we learned that, so the idea of so what the gnat does, he doesn't he only takes in, he doesn't like excrete anything, he doesn't share anything, right? And that idea of klippa, of like not being completely self-absorbed, and this is the source of from where this creature was taken, so it even is in this moment higher than where this person who's sinning is getting its life force. And surely the other unclean creatures and even the ferocious beasts are higher than the sinner. All of these do not deviate from their divinely intended purpose, but they obey Hashem's command. Although they cannot perceive it, for the animal cannot perceive Hashem's command, yet their spirit perceives it. So the life force animating them, which is aware of the divine will, does not permit them to act in violation of it. And that's what we talk about, like instinct. Animals have instinct. And so they're actually, the reason they're higher than a person is because they're not deviating from the will of Hashem. Hashem told them to do this, and they are doing this. They are doing exactly what Hashem willed them to. And that's why they are higher, so to speak, than a sinner, because a sinner is actually doing not what Hashem told them to in the time that they're sinning. So, as it is written, the fear and dread of you shall lie upon every beast of the earth. Wow. And as our sages explain, a wild beast will never defy a human being unless he appears to it like an animal. Oh my goodness, I love this so much. This is amazing. Okay. I believe this, the fear and dread of you shall lie upon every beast of the earth. I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to check into it. But I believe this is a quote from the time what Hashem told Cain, when Cain killed his brother, and Hashem said that you have to wander the earth now, and he was worried that he would have, that all the animals of the world would attack him and kill him, right? And if you think about this line further on, because he wasn't just a every Joe bloke, he knew Torah even before Torah was physically in our hands. He was the son of Adam Arishon. And he would have known that wow, when a person is animalistic and animal-like, then that's when a beast, when an animal will not listen to it. It can defy a human being, right? Wow. And it's like in the situation with in whatever relationship of authority that we have, everyone goes through it, whatever it is, whether it's with kids or they're in a role of a mashpia, giving over to someone's receiving from them, and they're giving over to somebody. So if we come to a lower level, the person who was previously receiving from us will see something's up and refuse to receive from us anymore, and will play up, right? However, if we, it's like this, like if the human steps down from being a human with free choice and acts on the level of an animalistic, of the animal soul in an animalistic way, then what's the differentiation between the animal and the animalistic human? Not enough difference, not enough. They're choosing to be like the animal. So the animal will not respect them, will not listen to them. So it's the same. Like if we're in a role of mashpia, we cannot, and like a child, like you cannot expect, like you cannot go down to somebody's level fully. You can't go down to somebody's level. You have to always have some sort of separation. You have to always understand and receive from the higher. You have to be receiving from Hashem in order to give to somebody else. You can't receive from the person that you're giving to, if that makes sense. From receiving in terms of mashpia, receiving in terms of character traits. You can't like act like the person who you're trying to help necessarily. Yeah. So what this amazing thing is I believe like Cain probably like knew that because he acted like an animal and he killed his brother. It was a big sin. So he knows that all the animals will not respect him, they'll eat him, he'll just be another animal on the planet. So what Hashem told him was this line: the fear and dread of you shall lie upon every beast of the earth. And it was like Hashem put like his there was like letters, Hebrew letters that shone from his face, from his forehead, that all the animals could see, because Hashem said, you're right, and this is what I'm giving you. And yeah, that's amazing. So if we act, if we receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and if we receive direct from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then what we're giving over is Kedusha, and we will be feared by and respected, right? But if what we're receiving is from not Kedusha, is from a lower place, like from the same place where animals receive from, then we are actively taking a step down and choosing to be lower. And because we choose to be lower, all the levels, all the animals who have no choice, this is where they're at. They'll sniff it, they'll understand it, and they will have no respect for you. Amazing. I love this so much. How are we doing for time? Okay. In fact, when confronting tzaddikim, from whose face the divine image never departs, the evil beasts are humbled before them, as is stated in the Zohar concerning Daniel in the lion's den. Not only did the lions not harm him, but on the contrary, they humbled themselves before him. At any rate, what emerges from the above is that even the animals do not violate Hashem's will. Amazing. Let's just read this a note from the Rebbe. Each of the two quotations is cited in support of one part of the Alter Rebbe's contention concerning the creature's submission to Hashem's will. The first, relating to the fear and dread of man, proves that the creatures do not deviate from their mission, in that they dare not defy any human being, not even a child. Wow. See evidence in Shabbat. A day-old child need not be guarded from weasels and mice. Not so the corpse of Og, the mighty king of Bashan. So the second, relating to Daniel in the lion's den, demonstrates that their spirit sees to the extent that they can discern whether the godly image rests upon one's face, in which case they actually humble themselves before him, or whether this image is absent, in which case they will merely not defy him, but will also not humble themselves before him. Wow, isn't that amazing? Oh, love this so much. Thank you, Hashem. So like we know that we know from the story of Bilam and in Balak, Parshas Balak, that the donkey could see the angels. A donkey can see animals, we know can see the spiritual world better than we can. So what it means here is that their spirit sees, the animal spirit sees if a godly image rests upon one's face, which means that you're receiving, you're a receiver to Hashem. Hashem is your mashpia, right? So you're receiving kedusha, and so you have holiness. You have Hashem's image on you, on your face, right? And that's what an animal will see, and that's what an animal will look for in a person. Do they have the image, so to speak, of a godly image resting on their face? If they don't, if they're receiving, instead of receiving from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, they would choose to receive from the Klippah, from Tuma, then they don't see that the godly image on the face. And that's what they're looking for when they look at you. So if that's missing, then they can treat you like every other animal in the kingdom. And if they see the godly image, then you are above them, and they will submit themselves to you because they're submitting themselves to Hashem, who you're representing. Isn't that amazing? Oh, love this. It is thus clear that he who sins and transgresses against Hashem's will, even a minor offense, is at the time he commits it completely removed from the divine holiness, meaning God's unity and oneness, even more so than all of the unclean creatures, the vermin and the reptiles, which derive their sustenance from the Sitra Achra and the Klippa of Avodah Zarah. All the aforesaid demonstrates how one's hidden love for God can enable him to overcome his desire to transgress any sin. I love this. Okay. So after learning all of that, like how intense it can be to sin, isn't this amazing to hear that one's hidden love, which everybody has, every Jew has in his soul, hidden love for Hashem that was granted to him because he is the child, and he's part of the neshamas of Adam Arishon and of Avram Avinu, sorry, right? Because Avram Avinu went through so many tests and he proved time and time again that he chooses Hashem, right? And he loves Hashem. He got up so early in the morning to shecht his son because Hashem willed him to, and he knew that who is he? He is nothing. Hashem sees and knows all. He is the creator. If Hashem says it, then it is good. And because Hashem says it and it's Hashem's will, I will get up with excitement to do Hashem's will. Even on a humanistic level, it's to kill your son, chas v'chalila, your only son that Hashem, and then there's so much like faith as well, because Hashem promised Avram that his descendants will be numerous as the sand on the beach and numerous as the stars in the sky. So how can it be if Hashem is telling me to this is his intellect, this heaviness of the intellect could have come in, the earth element could have come in and said, look, Avram, what are you doing? I don't know, this is really what Hashem wants. Because he told you that you'll have numerous descendants, I mean, you have no children other than this one child, which took so much time to get, Avram was like 101 years old or something. He was very, very old, to have not had a child before. And finally it happened. And now Hashem's saying this one chance that you have, this one child that you have to give over. So then if that's the case, then Hashem, where is your promise? How can it be that my descendants will be as the dust of the earth, as the sand on the beach, as the stars in the sky? How does it make sense? So he's definitely, as I can relate, as my heavy earth element of the intellect can come in and say like, oh, what about this? And what about that? And no, Avram Avinu cut all of that off. He refined himself so much that wasn't present in his mind. He got up immediately with alacrity. And again, that's something that we learn as well. If we want to mitigate against our negative character traits, like the earth element, for example, or whatever, our emotions in our brain are the part of our brain, the amygdala, which it works 3 to 4 times faster than the rational side of our brain. Our emotional side works faster than our natural side, and than our intellectual side. So it's better, our logical side. So it's better when we can try to tame it, we can work in it, and we can actually get to a point where our rational side of the brain becomes 3 to 4 times faster than our emotional. So then our emotions are no longer the forefront of our interactions in the world. It can become secondary. And it happens as we use more and more our logical side, right? So because, and there's this class that Miriam gives, you should watch it. She has this neuroscientist, I think it was, who gives this class. So it's amazing. It's on Miriam's website. I'll probably put a link down. So it's teaching like CBTT, cognitive behavioral Torah therapy, which is Miriam's creation through the Tanya and mental health. So what it was explained is that it's like traffic in a 1-lane zone. It's like you can either go in one direction or the other. You can't go in both. So the more that we spend time training our logical brain, the less time our mind goes towards the irrational thinking, the emotions. So it's not about telling us to stop. It's not about telling your emotions to stop. It's just about doing the positive, doing the active thing. just about doing more and more of what you actually want, right? And that's kind of like what the Alter Rebbe says, put two hands up, don't just put one hand up, because one hand up, you're training it to come, the klippa and the thoughts to come more and more. Put two hands up and actually change your thought, redirect your thought to something positive, like do a mitzvah, do something good. So it's the same thing from a spiritual standpoint. But yeah. And so because of in Avram Avinu, he had actually all of our souls, all of us Jews come from Avram Harishon. All of our souls are a different part of his soul. And so we were all there present when he did every single mitzvah, when he went through all these things, when he went through such character refinement, midot tovot, that he came out with sweet midot. We have all of that within us. And so we have within us this hidden love. It's hidden because it's not always present in our conscious mind. And it doesn't direct everything that we do, think, say, or feel, right? But we can get to a place where we reveal it more and more, and we add to it when we make it bigger and bigger and bigger. We can get there, but a person has to know, no matter how low he is on the spectrum of Neshamot, if he's a tzaddik, a Benoni, or a Rasha, right? And a Rasha v'tovlo, a Rasha v'ralo, whatever he is, every person, even the worst on the outside, it seems the most, nothing can get through to this person. Everyone has to know that he has in himself, he has a hidden love of Hashem, which is given to him by birthright, because his father Abraham Avinu went through it, and he gained it, and his neshama was there present when Abraham Avinu went through all of this. So he has that hidden love that is his birthright, divine right. And from knowing that you have this within you, you don't have to go through a whole long journey of character refinement. You don't have to go pay 1,000, how much to get to who you really are. You don't have to, like Miriam says, you don't have to fly to the moon and back. No, you have it all within you. It's just a matter of digging yourself out and refining yourself, right? So that you can see it more and more. And it's enough to know that it's there. Sometimes, especially at the beginning of, like when I was learning Miriam's teachings, it wasn't so easy to daven. It was very, very difficult to actually like daven, because we learn with CBTT, davening is like the number one vessel for reaching the true you. You have to daven, whatever it is to you, like davening, but you have to daven, whatever it is. If you can do the whole thing, great. If you can't do the whole thing, great. Do whatever you can, and then learn Torah immediately right after. And so yeah, so I remember it was so hard. And Miriam would say, you don't have to feel it. You don't have to feel this love, this hidden love. Just know that it exists, know that it's there. And by you doing what you're doing and intellectually understanding that it's there, it will come out more and more. It will come out. And that was for sure my experience. It came out more and more. It became easier. And the amazing thing with CBTT, the amazing thing with focusing on these, like, so other people might call them rituals, but it's like your lifeline, your lifeline, which Miriam actually talked about in her Chodesh Elul shir. She said that the Rebbe, a woman, a new mother, like opened up, came to the Rebbe and told him, I can't pray anymore because I have children. And the Rebbe said, hire help. Just hire help. You have to do the davening. You have to pray. It's that important. And I think amazing, because when you have this down and you put all your difficulty that the difficulty to overcome the Yetzer Hara not to do davening, the difficulty to overcome all the circumstances and issues, whatever can come up, that can cause you to say, okay, I don't have the time to pray today, or whatever it is, right? If you put all of your suffering into making it work, that you daven and you learn Torah, then you take away all the suffering that you may have to go through in your day, right? Because remember, like our sages, Chazal teach us that Every person, no one is free from suffering in this world. No one is free. It's something that we have to go through for refinement. But you can choose if you're going to squeeze yourself like an olive oil press, like an olive, it's just a hard fruit. But when you get to squeeze it out, comes pure oil. And that oil is used for Kedusha. It's so, so holy. It's with this Shemen Zayit that we even anoint the Mashiach. You know, it's so holy. We use it for our candles. We use it for menorah. We use it for everything. So, and the Hanukkah miracle, the 8-day miracle, was with the olive oil. So we only get to this pure Kedushitic olive oil of ourselves when we crush ourselves. You can't get it without crushing yourself. Either you come to crush yourself, like when you force yourself to do davening in the morning, and you force yourself to, you know, learn Torah, no matter how hard you go through all the suffering. May it be all the suffering you'll go through the whole day. May it be that it lessens the suffering otherwise. Because if you don't do the crushing of yourself, then unfortunately, this is the nature of the world. Hashem doesn't want to cause suffering, but it is imperative. It is needed, for our neshama needs it. So then other situations will come up in the day that will cause us to cry out in anguish because we are being squeezed, you know? And so the more and more, remember, more and more, less and less, the more and more that we crush ourselves to do this seder of learning Torah and davening, and learning Torah right after, the less and less we will have to get squeezed outside because we are doing the squeezing of ourselves. So we are choosing our suffering, right? So less and less and more. It doesn't mean everything's perfect. Doesn't mean we get out fully like a free out of jail card when we do all of our squeezing in davening. No, there's always more to work on. There's always things that will come up. Nothing's perfect. We're not Hashem. We don't know everything. But this is like one beautiful divorce we can think of, which I can tell you from my experience as well, is amazing because you end up focusing on your davening, you know, rather than on your issues. And then slowly, as you're working on yourself, as you're changing, you're actually like refining yourself. You're expressing your true self, which is hidden, you know, and you're revealing it, your true heart. Then you start to see things differently. You start to see those situations differently. You interact differently. You change the dynamics. Everyone interacts differently now. B'ezrat Hashem. Whatever it is, like it doesn't have to be immediate results. It can be, you know, some people see results like really fast in a few months, weeks, days, whatever. Some people is like tens of like years and years, whatever it is. Like everyone's journey is different, but it really does have a great effect. And I can tell from my own experience, it is amazing when you put all of your effort into the seder of the day, like the davening and learning Torah. And then you have so much more wherewithal, strength to deal with everything that you're going to go through during the day. And the same things that might happen won't actually cause you suffering. It could be because now you have a different way of seeing it, because now you come from a full cup rather than an empty cup. So with that, let us, let me save the space. Let us continue with our meditation. We'll do a quick meditation. So I invite everyone, and remember, the reason what we're doing a meditation is to allow our body to relax, reset, open up the grooves of our mind to take in everything that we learned, B'ezrat Hashem, and absorb it better so that we call upon it when we need it easier. So I'll invite everyone to just get into a comfortable position, whatever that is for you. And focus now on your breathing. First, exhale. Just exhale as much as you can get out of you. We're going to do some exhaling for a bit. So allow you naturally to breathe whatever comes in. And then exhale. Breathe in again. So exhaling is telling your body you're not being attacked. You have time to relax. You have time to exhale. You don't have to take a deep breath in because this is not your last breath. You're in a stress-free zone. Everything's fine. So breathing out. And now let's move all of our limbs. Let's focus on our lower body. Let's focus on contracting the toes, your feet. Yep. And with that contraction, feel that contraction and let go. Now feel the absence of that tension in your feet. We'll do it again. Contract now your legs, all of your legs and your feet, everything all together, those legs, the lower body. Contracting, feel the contraction and let go. Now feel the absence of that contraction. Feel that the tension has gone away, at least a little bit. Moving up into the pelvic area. Yep. And you can also move it up to the abdominal area. Now crunching of whatever is inside. Imagine all of the tension, you're just squeezing. And let go. Feel the absence of that tension. Moving up to the back, the chest, torso. You can even do shoulders up. So feel that contraction. And let go. And feel the absence of the contraction. Feel free to go back, spend more time in specific places if you need to. I want to spend more time on my spine, my back, my upper back again. So I'm going to do that again. So contract and let go. And feel the absence of that tension. Oh, feels so nice. And now moving to your hands, clutch your fingers. Clench your hands, your wrists, just feel whatever tension. Let go. Feel the absence of that tension. Going up again, we can go into the upper arms, the whole arms, clenching the fists. I'm doing even my shoulders. So clenching and let go. Feeling the absence of that tension. And now we're going to the fun part in the face. And now really imagine like any place where you know, in your orifices, whether it's through your hearing, through your sight, through your smell, through your speech or mouth, eating, whatever it is. So any way that these have been used for impurity, imagine all of that tension as you contract, and then as you let go, watch it just sliding away. So we'll do it now. So contracting, whatever that looks like to you. And squinting your eyes maybe. And letting go. Again. Letting go. And now you can see yourself. Now imagine all the Kedusha coming into you. As you exit all of the tension, you now make a space for Hashem to be with you, within you. So now again, imagine all the tension in your mind now. Wherever there's been sin or whatever thoughts that haven't served the purpose of Kiddush Hashem, purpose of doing Hashem's will. So just imagine it all now, squeeze that brain, all the grooves of the mind, all the tension. Like imagine even like wringing out that brain and watching all of that leave. as you let go. And then your brain comes back into its place and it just feels so much lighter. Now feel the absence of all of that tension. And now, open the door to Hashem, open the key, say, Hashem, you can come in, please come in. And watch as Hashem comes, enters in through your chachma, in through your mind first, and then washes down into your heart, into that place. And through the heart, pumping all the blood to every orifice, every area of your body and your being. All of the kedusha is coming through. It's singing. It's like, it's just such a warm, beautiful, loving, and holy feeling. And imagine the image, a God, whatever it means, like the godly image is on your face now. So you are in a higher place and you are receiving from your mashpia, Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you are higher than all of the lower levels of klippa, of the animals. And so enjoy, love this gift that Hashem has given to you and not to somebody else. Love this gift of being one with Hashem. And imagine this, these letters on shining from your forehead, like with Kain, as you walk and about your day, as you do your daily tasks. And just imagine this. This is you. This is special. And imagine now people in front of you who maybe you've been struggling with in a relationship that you want to keep. So think of somebody in that situation and watch yourself. You're in a different position now. You're watching yourself and this person. And you can see that you have actually shining holy letters coming from your face. It's like godly image. And you are smiling and your body is golden and, radiating, and you are completely unaffected. And you are not a mashpia to this other person. I mean, you are not a receiver to this, a makabel. You're not a receiver to this other person. You are the mashpia. You are the receiver because you are receiving straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You are the superconductor. You can see all of that golden light entering you from Shemayim, a smile from Hashem because you're doing His will. And you can see this golden light circling you and radiating outwards, And you are a representative of Hashem right now. So you have this godly image on your forehead. Nothing phases you. And this person in front of you, it almost doesn't even matter what's coming from them, because just you being the example, just you smiling, just you doing, learning Torah, doing Hashem's will, you have that effect on them. And you can think good things about this person. This person really is struggling in their life. Hashem, may you open up their experience. May you give them chesed. May you give them clarity. And may you be more present in their life in a way that they can see you. So may they be healed enough to see Hashem in their life. And with that smile, you being on top of the world, you can see that smile actually is contagious. This holy place you're in is contagious. You can see the other person's receiving all of these holy, atoms that are floating through the air, all of this happiness, this joy, this on top of the world, not feeling fazed by anyone or anything. And that helps them. And you can see that they're smiling. And you turn back to Hashem, you turn back to Shemayim, and you both now are turning up to Shemayim and saying thank you, because it's all Hashem, and you are just the godly messenger if you choose to be. So with that, I'll encourage you, take the time that you need to be present back into your body here. Take that image with you. Imagine, see yourself in this way, with the godly light shining forward out through you, the superconductor, which is you, and Hashem's godly light shining in. And I love that, like the letters, the holy letters on your head, on your forehead that are shining. And making it clear that you are a representative of Hashem. Amazing. So Hashem, may you allow for our hearts to really take in all of the teachings today. And may the messages, may what we learned be more engraved in the grooves of our mind. To have strength over our heart in every crease of our heart. And with that, I'll see you guys next week, B'ezrat Hashem, for continuing chapter 24.